I have a couple of preliminary things.
Okay. Happy this? Okay.
Just to kick the meeting off, to try and go back in history when we started.
So you want to do sort of an overview?
Yes.
Okay. And anything else? Okay. So I did not locate minutes for the last meeting, so I'm just assuming we can pass on that. I don't know if we need a motion or not. Not really. Okay, great. So quick introduction.
My name's Michael. Michael Gross. Happy to see all of you. Yeah, on the housing lands,
Yes,
housing land use and zoning committee.
Right.
Yeah, MCB9. Happy to see you guys again.
madam.
I'm Rita Dunn, don't know nothing.
Okay, you,
Yeah, but I was the oldest member on the board, former chair, currently the chair of economic development and the West Holland Good.
Teal.
Oh, I'm Hakil Elliston. I'm the community associate here at the office.
Right.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah. Victor Edwards, chair of CB9.
Dejan Delpino, I'm a new member of the board. I guess now the co-chair of the task force. So,
And Chris Johnson, I'm Dijon's assistant. How about Walter? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. Walter T. Alexander, co-chair of Senior Action Committee, as well as in the Arts and Culture Committee, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Walter. Pat?
Hi, I'm Pat Watler Johnson. I guess I was a member, but Walter just fired me. So if the chair says I'm still there, then I'm gonna keep going. I'm Pat Watler Johnson, member of Community Board 9. I serve on the Senior Action Committee. I serve as one of two representatives to the WHDC Board of Directors. I serve as a liaison to the 125th Street Elevator Lobby. I serve on this committee and I'm honored to serve and represent, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Pat. And Walter, you're fired.
Hello, Queen Marita.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well blessed, highly favored, dear.
Ariacella? Ariacella, Holbrook Smith.
Well, hello. Sorry, I had to take a second to unmute. But hi, everyone. My name is Ariel Sella Holbrook Smith, and I am the Health Equity and Literacy Program Officer for the Harlem Health Initiative. We are at the CUNY School of Public Health and Health Policy up on 125th. This is my first time coming to this meeting. I did have an event that I wanted to share with you all, participatory budgeting workshops that we are doing in November. So I would love to drop a flyer and share that with you all as well. But it's nice to join you all.
Oh, terrific and welcome. Ariacella does a lot of work with John Martin and the SGL committee. So that's all this was. All right. So let's go right into new business. So we're taking a look at the CBA. Focus will be the CBA circa 2009 going forward. So I think it could be a good time now, Walter. Not Victor, if you want to do an overview.
Statement for.
Yeah, I know. My apologies. And yeah, there's no similarity.
Thank you. Yes. So back in about 2014, then Chair Reverend Morgan Thomas had asked myself and one other board member to form the strategic planning committee at that time to oversee the community benefits agreement. I did that for about 5 years. Reading that document backwards and forwards, it stayed by my night tape. Knew every word going backwards and forwards. And one of the things I was always interested in, who's benefiting from it, and are we getting the word out? And we saw the word wasn't getting out as much as we thought. I visited Manhattan Community Center grant 3333, talked about scholarships, talked about senior programs, things like this. So we had a good run. when they were building, I would go to the work site, look for people who maybe lived in the area. And that wasn't the case, so I would go to the employment part of Columbia and ask what's going on. I said, you're gonna hire people in the community, and when they got there, they said they had to be union, but you didn't say that in the beginning, nor did you try to start a apprenticeship program, which would help. Because when I did see some people on the site that looked like myself, and I asked them, they laughed at me, said, "Nobody here, they're not trying to really do this." So I said, this is something we need to do. We started something, had some apprenticeship program. It kind of fell by the wayside, so looking to maybe restart something like that. There are young people out there that want to work, and those jobs are a good job, paying well, good benefits. So why not work where you live and be a part of that? So that was kind of one of the things I thought of. The documents that oversee the West Harlem Benefits Agreement include Declaration of Covenants, which I made a copy.
And yeah, I printed out the CCNR.
Yeah, it's quite long.
Yes.
CBA, as you know,
Yes.
is another one. The project plan was another one.
Yeah.
So there's like 4 or 5 documents to kind of,
Yeah, right.
yeah. So worth looking at all of them to see what fits. I printed out just running over, I actually have a tennis lesson at 8, but okay. So one of the things I printed out, I didn't print enough, but I printed out a few copies you can kind of share for the moment. And this document is all for the Empire State Development Corp website. And this is their audit. They have to report every October, September, October, Columbia reports to Empire State Development Corp. So when we look at it, right, you'll see this first one is scholarships. It's 20 undergrad scholarships per year go to Columbia. I said day one, that's what really got me involved. Who are those people?
Right.
Who are getting the 20 scholarships? Well, they won't give you the name, which I understand. They'll give you the zip codes. When you start looking at zip codes, you'll see that a lot of them not in what I call our district, even though it includes 10 and 11 and parts of the Bronx. But I always say the impact is here in this district, so we should be benefiting more from it. So is it that we're not getting the word out? They're not getting the word out, or they're not applying? Okay, so that's something I want the group to look at as well. Then if you go to page 2, you'll see what high schools are listed here, where they attended. Now, from day one, there was elite high schools and prep schools outside the city. Calhoun School, Columbia Secondary School, which is that's kind of open to everyone. Dream Charter School, okay, Fordham Prep. It's way up in the Bronx. I don't know how it applies, but I know at some point deals were made to get favor, just my opinion, from other elected officials when this was going on. So we'll include your district. But when you go down there, where's Stuyvesant, there's Bronx High School of Science, there's Brooklyn Tech. Where's the high schools in this area that could benefit from this? So that's something I want to look at. And then they'll have where they went to outreach, okay? And did. The outreach in Stuyvesant, the outreach in Hunter College High School, Columbia Grammar and Prep School, Bottom Line, Brown, University of Chicago, Vanderbilt. But what about people right here? That's stressing, this is who is affected by it, and that's why there is a benefits agreement to give back. But how is that being done, and is it being done fairly across the board?
Yeah, so this is one of those big issues, and this was a question for everyone, all the elected officials also. How is it being managed? What is the outreach? And what commitments have been met? What commitments are to be met? So kind of both sides of it, and what's been hit at 100%. So there's a lot to look into. So the good part about it is, are you finished with it, or did you have?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
that's kind of, overall summary of what's going on.
So in meeting with Senator Claire and Senator Taylor's office, obviously they have an interest in this, and also they have an interest in a CDA 2.0, which we're not dealing with. We're just looking at this. But that's reasonable for them because they had a question, what is the outreach? And I'm like, actually, I think your office is part of the outreach. They could do some of the outreach. So that's something they would be interested in. And I think fortunate for us also, Lucas was beginning to look into this. So what we're hoping to do in the IPR implementation report is massive. So on Friday, I asked Nikhil and Ashley to print out. It's about this thick. To his credit, Lucas was familiar with it.
Okay.
And it's a version of choking with paper. It's not consecutively numbered. And it's like a bunch of filings. So somebody has to sit down and make sense of it. And on top of that, we need some level of like a scorecard to say in category 1, they have satisfied this, and this is what's left over. On the surface, one of the thoughts that Lucas had was to bring in a couple of Columbia students to start going through it. So some of 25 has already been posted to the community neighborhood website. 24 has been posted. So our hope is that the filings for 25 are cumulative. Otherwise, it's going to be unpleasant. We have to keep going back and back and back and back. But that's one way, hopefully, we will be able to answer some of the questions as to what has been satisfied. So there's detail in a lot of that. But how can we make use of that information and then provide it in some way that folks can do it without having to go through all of them? So we want to be able to answer your questions exactly as you just said, and it's not only you, I think the community wants to. And also we want to go to groups like Brother and Sister Soul, for instance, and say, hey, there's scholarship money available to your
They did
members.
funny to say, they are listed, so they did read.
Yes,
They did
yeah.
Which is a good thing. But there's others.
They seem to be good at those kind of things, and we were talking about this also. For the most part, in across the states in the Ivies, if you can get into a tier 1 school and you have FAFSA need, they will full boat you, but so you have to go back. Who are the kids that are able to sit down, take the test and qualify in? And it's not just the test, it's the interviews, it's all of the extracurricular stuff. That can also be something to look at is how do we have to go back to junior high, how do we prep kids?
Go to elementary sometimes.
Maybe elementary,
But at least junior high.
yeah,
And talk about these things.
right,
Before they get to high school. What high school you want to go to, you have the grades,
right.
kind of track yourself.
Right, and maybe on top of that, have something at an oversight level to track them, just to get a sense of where they are.
They have at Columbia double discovery program, which is a part of this benefits. But a lot of people don't know.
I was gonna say, who's in it?
Right, exactly.
So Deidre is at a double discovery meeting this evening. She and I chatted about this yesterday. So that would be, I said the same thing.
Deidre and I went one year on campus to one of their classes. So at the end, they said, are there any questions? I said, yes, I have a question. How many students from here live between 155th and 110th Street? 3 people raised their hand. I said, well,
All of them?
I said, they came from all over. So I'm not,
Yeah.
it's not bad, but we need to service this area too.
Yeah, yeah.
So community centers, I said to them, have you been to the community center to outreach to them? Have you been to Boys and Girls Club? These are young people who are interested in doing something, because they're not on the corners, they're in a place that's productive.
Right.
So let's take advantage of it. So that kind of stuff and try to
Or
put.
how do we reach out to the students that live in the community but do not attend school in the community? Because that would they would technically qualify.
That would be, yeah.
Right, so let's assume it's a student that attends Bronx, one of the specialized schools that's a feeder. How do we reach out to them?
Good question. That's something to take a look at.
Yeah, so then it's also the senior programs and all of the other things. So to West Harlem Development Corp, and I'm just gonna quote a number, I'm not saying it is the number. 76 million was committed to West Harlem, and then another roughly 95 million committed to other programs, including 20 million over to HCDC and
20 million affordable housing.
24 million.
Yeah.
I can't find 20 million somewhere, come up to the 170 something number, but
Oh,
yeah.
well,
So I think that's something we need to find, is to figure it all out and then better understand it. And then I think a lot of outreach. So I think to your point, this is really, when I started looking into it, speaking to some of the stakeholders, there's a massive void. Housing, 4 million to the legal fund, so I think Kalante picked that, some of that.
yes.
But it doesn't seem to meet the need of the community at all. Which one? The housing resources on the legal side. And I know in advocacy, there is a huge need in the city for senior housing legal support. And, you know, that's something that we can definitely also take a look into. And there are some like mobilization for justice focuses on that. You know, something to think about, how do we bring more services up here? And anyway, so there's lots of kind of categories on this one. What else were you thinking about?
You know, like I said, just wanted to, you guys kind of start off in a summary of
Yeah,
the documents to guide this, where we are today, based on things like this, Empire State Development Corp. Like the employment centers on 125th, that nobody, I've done. I've done some work with them. They're nice people,
Right.
but I don't know if they're out there now, if I could do that. Also, an apprenticeship program was being run at one time. And,
like P2A.
yeah,
Okay,
look into that, and that was coming out of West Hall Development Corp at one time, so.
right.
Something along those lines.
So, yeah, I think that might be the other thing, is clearly the funding is there through West Holland. But now we need to focus on like the outreach side of it. So I don't know if it's gonna be listening sessions, or what do we do to reach into the community to let folks know what's there? And also, how do they qualify? So, see, it talked on something that was really interesting. Even it's not one, you or me just coming over to West Holland and go, I need 25 million, 25,000, and that makes sense, right? In terms of providers, we don't have that many. He's right. We really don't have that many providers in CB9. Most of them are Central Harlem, East Harlem. So I was like, actually, that's a really good point. Our biggest provider on some of this stuff would be something like Assist, right? You know, so I don't know if we have to catalyze them a bit to have them support some of the outreach, just as a point, or develop a catalyzing group to do some more outreach. So I kept thinking about, like, you know, who does the community board's not really resourced for it to actively do out, you know, outreach. And West Harlem doesn't really, West Harlem Development Corp doesn't appear to be, right? And then there were other things like the housing, legal support, or the HDFC Resource Center. That's fallen to the wayside. But when you look at the HDFCs and you put a value to it, you know, you're reaching in the billions of dollars, and you tend to think that should be a priority. So I think we still have to kind of go back and sort of try to figure out a strategy. But it doesn't seem to me as though West Harlem is leaping. West Harlem Development, when I speak of West Harlem, is not leaping to jump in on these things, but I think we do it on.
Is there stopping us from putting up something like similar to like a RFP?
I'm not hearing this,
Huh?
Oh, she's not here.
Oh, sorry.
And by the way, you're talking to an attorney who I know this is not, she's being kind. That voice is probably normally screaming and booming.
Well, now you're talking to an old lady.
Is there something stopping us from doing something like an RFP where, for example, if we are saying we don't have providers in our area that do XYZ, but we know we want XYZ done, is there something stopping us from doing an RFP for certain groups or people who would like to establish a group, but they need funding to submit their proposal? And then we have a pot of money set aside to help get these providers set up in our
Right.
neighborhood. Is there something stopping us from that?
I don't know all the logistics of it. I would say even step before that, to catalog what we do have as far as providers.
Yeah.
And what we don't have, and then say, okay, we need these areas, and then maybe an RFP.
Yeah, so I think one of the things is to also go around, do the go around within the district to find out who are the providers, who are capable of what. So the task of trying to identify the delta, what do we have versus what was committed to and what has been satisfied, that's easy breezy in a way. Because I think that's simple, but to address some of the issues, that's the task at hand, right? Reaching out to the providers. Fortunately, unlike Central Harlem, we don't have that. And also, this is where the elected officials come in, because most of them can tell you right away, we have that list. There you go. So I'm saying, oh, yeah, so to your point, I'm like, this is really doable.
We got cut off. Not sure if you can hear us. We're cut off.
Yeah, I can hear you, Walter, even though I'm fired.
We're not hearing them.
I know. So let's put something in the chat.
Look, it's coming back. Look, it's
Oh, it's coming back.
Yeah. We both were fired.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we were cut off for some reason, everyone. We couldn't hear the last few statements.
Where did we leave off?
I don't know. We were cut off, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What I think we need to also not overlook is West Harlem has the highest concentration of institutions of higher learning in the world. I'm not asking, I'm telling.
Yeah, I don't.
In the world.
It's kind of like
So
talking
we need
about,
to-
you're absolutely right.
We need to reach out to more than just Columbia.
Oh,
What happened to the Jewish Theological Seminary? What happened to Teachers College? What happened to Union Theological?
Oh.
Hello,
oh,
and they all have money.
right, okay.
And aren't most folks who go to teachers, like most of these students at Teachers College are doing a lot of this outreach work in a lot of schools
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
Like they're in these places.
But all the schools they're reaching out to here?
I would hope so.
Yeah,
They're definitely in middle schools, you
I
know.
would hope so too.
Yeah.
The bottom line is,
Yeah.
with that, then maybe they are, but where?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know if so you're suggesting kind of outreaching to those higher ed.
What I'm saying is this committee, we here need to stop and make us plan for how we're going to not only reach out to these people who have the money, but how we want to explain to them they won't be involved. That's how I function.
Okay. Let's use some thought behind that. All right.
Well, okay, I mean, we can do some, but our main focus is using Columbia's money that's on the table before it runs out. But at the same time, we could reach out to city and
Because the possibility
make
might,
it help.
right, so,
Reach out to the JT, right up to the. We should read the thing is, city is here, Columbia is there, and the rest of them ain't have to do nothing? That's not right. We should reach out to
Oh.
all. That's where I'm coming from.
Right, I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but the issue is
Mhm.
Columbia signed an agreement with us.
Right.
Because they took this land. And that's what the committee was basically working on. You owe us money, you said you're gonna pay, so pay up and do it in a proper manner before it runs out.
right.
Now, the other people, you could tap into too, right, like to establish.
You go to teachers college, I don't know if that's what you were driving at, is that the fact that.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking about outreach to schools to let them know about the scholarship
Right.
programs. So, I mean, I think teachers college, if you're at teachers college, you have to do these externships, internships
Right.
throughout the year, throughout the summer. We're in a lot of local,
Yeah.
middle schools and high schools. And, you know, that's something where we could make sure Columbia is
Okay,
circulating.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, so
Yeah.
facilitate the process,
Yeah.
they're doing some of the outreach for us essentially.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I would hope that, you know,
That
folks
comes
that are
back,
teaching know about it anyway.
yeah, the RFP point
Yeah.
that John was making, who's out there?
And that might not be the right terminology.
Yeah,
no, it
Public
makes
setting,
sense.
That's what we call it in the regular business or request for proposal, it might be something.
Yeah, no, but yeah. Cause there might be small organizations.
Right.
In the meeting today,
Or there could be people who want to organize and don't have the funds.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, we can
That's
facilitate
what
that.
So I think under the CBA, there's a lot of potential for innovation.
Mhm.
But it requires like a partnership.
Right.
So that might be also something we will have to think about how to facilitate those partnerships. Otherwise, the money sunsets and then it disappears. You know, and whether or not it was kind of interesting to hear that there's 38 million left when it was supposed to sunset in 2025. Depending on how you look at these things, that's good news or not good news. That means a lot of money could have been allocated funding stuff, and for whatever reason it didn't. So I know you and I talked about it. So like for senior programs, if it's for senior jobs, I would say open the floodgates. You know, why not create those opportunities for those folks before those folks go to glory? You know, there's an article in the Spectator that takes a look at, and what you normally would look at is you take a look at the operating number of restaurant development for. The number almost exceeds what they give out, so that's not encouraging. Yeah, that means salaries and things are paid more than money is being given out. So you kind of go, okay, that's not really good. So I think also that's something, maybe even at the committee level, coming back to the committees and presenting information to the different committees and let them be sort of,
They, you know, on their side, they often say things are not presented to the ideas for them to fund. So we should absolutely do that as well.
yeah. So that kind of goes back to your RFP thing again, yeah.
But also, I feel, I don't know, my nice way to say that, but if you didn't pay the salary, apparently a very nice salary, a team of people, and then saying, oh, well, no one's giving me anything to do, well, you've got a job, that's part of it, to go out and look for things to do, look for people to fund, because you're getting paid, right? So I don't know. I think this.
Well, Victor was trying to figure out something that kind of went in an interesting direction. Facility, the space. Okay, so if you turn somebody down, like, what happens next? And there should be sort of like some reporting or something. So when I looked at the CBA, I thought I understood in-kind was only once per month. Did I misinterpret that?
I mean, to apply for it.
That they right only grant space once per month, but when you pull back and think about that, that makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Look at it, because I have the original one.
Yeah.
I thought the once a month was, that's when the application period opened, when you can
Okay.
apply. I think that's.
That's
I
what it
think,
was?
Yeah,
So-
because otherwise you're talking 12 months. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll double check that, but I think I didn't realize the space rental number was so high.
Yeah.
But also I think we need to kind of work with groups to explain this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And I thought his criticism was good. If you need a space for 3 people at $7,000,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that, right?
Give you a classroom, give you something else, what you're looking for.
Yeah,
But then, I mean, but then I feel like it goes back to. If these are type of applications you're getting, isn't it incumbent on you to start trying to do some different outreach to different groups that are larger? To bring in people who are going to apply for the space, so the space is not being wasted, that it's
Right,
being used, that things are being maximized, because.
That would account.
Well, what are we asking the West Holland Development Committee to do?
I think the question might be, what's the role and responsibility of the West Holland Development Corp?
The English one?
Yeah, so I think we need to understand that better.
Yeah, because they are, they've got the bulk of the money from the budget.
They control the checkbook. Yeah.
And so I'm just,
Avoid expense, because I know I got in the space where they don't take this, I know from day one,
Right.
even how much rent, that's when I go there.
So it's holding them accountable, or.
Yeah, so accountability and transparency seem to be big issues, because we can't speak to it right now. I mean, that's what this is all about.
Yeah,
But that's a big concern, is that you guys really don't have visibility. It's like, no, we really don't, you know? So I think going to Empire State Development
Mhm.
will be interesting. And I think they're gonna be cooperative. I don't see any reason not, but we need to figure out how to take that information and turn it into something simpler, as like a scorecard or a report card.
Simpler than what they're putting out.
Yes, yeah, they put out something like this,
Yes.
and we need something that's only 1 or 2 pages that we can review on a quarterly basis, maybe. Or sit down with them on a
Why don't
quarterly
you just
basis.
be something that is
Yeah.
easily understood and shared with everyone, and it can't be this big. So let's break it up. Let's put it on them and make them responsible for bringing it down so it can reach the majority, not the minority of people.
I like that.
Let's put it on them.
Yeah.
It's their work.
We can post that to them and see what the response is. Yeah.
Propose it to them, tell them that's what they won't do. They
Yeah.
get paid to do it.
They-
Right? Don't
There's
let me
some-
get involved.
Because then it becomes the point, well, if all we're doing is paying their salaries with the money,
That's
if you
my lady.
might as well just give it back to Columbia and disband it,
I
right?
dare you.
You know, because if all you're gonna do is just pay the salaries until 2034, and the money's gone, it doesn't.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
But it's this type of group that holds people accountable.
right.
Someone knows that they're looking and say, what about this, what about that? Otherwise. One of this
Oh, you
document here,
my whole thing is if you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing and you're getting paid for, it, then you owe me and I want a refund. How that work?
Oh, wow.
I want-
question,
Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. So
Is it cut off
Pat?
again?
I've been around.
Pat, on my apologies. We did not ignore you, but we did.
No, I know you're trying to resolve. It's okay. I do have a question. Did I hear it correctly said that someone had mentioned that in terms of WHGC, there needs to be more accountability and transparency?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking that is because, as many of you know, I've been giving reports on a regular basis on what is happening at WHTC. Are you saying that there's more information that you need than the other that's provided? Now, I know that there was a meeting with the executive director and the board chair at the executive board meeting. I'm not a member of the executive board, so I wasn't there. Was that issue addressed with them? And if so, how is it resolved? And I think what I also would like to just ask for clarification, if you're not hearing information that you want, what information do you need from the representatives that we could be providing to you?
good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah.
So at the meeting, we did receive a good bit of information from Ziad explaining some budgeting issues, operation issues as well. But just to go back a step, it took 3 months to get him here. Prior, Kofi Boateng was here every month, if not quarterly. So my thing was where's the transparency, where's the communication, and hopefully going forward, that will be the case. The other point made here was salaries versus outcome. The salaries seem to be, which we don't control, are high, but what are we putting out for that? Could we be doing more? We will have questions and suggestions going, from here forward, now that we're back into this full time. So I couldn't say right now what we're asking of the representatives, but outreach, what kind of outreach? We'd like something periodically. What's your outreach? Just like we have from this document here from Columbia, the outreach they do for the scholarships, and it documents what high schools they went to, where they went to speak, something similar to that, to get the word out about various things. They're managing this as well. And it shouldn't be all on us to tell kids you can get a scholarship. Some of it should be on them too, going to TA meetings, going to community centers and things of this nature. So we're working towards that.
Yeah, so Pat, I think to your point, we'll probably end up with suggestions and recommendations that come back to WHTC for them to fold into their programming. So I think that would be great. It's terrific that you are the point person or there on behalf of the community board.
Well, there's two of us. There's Barry Weinberg, who's also a member, although he's not a member of CB9 anymore, but he's still our Barry, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think obviously you'll be able to answer a lot of the questions and kind of discuss a lot of this with us. And what I touched on earlier is it looks like one possibility could be a working group. So right now, working in conjunction with Senator Claire's office, which would be Lucas, and Usman from Al Taylor's office, and then potentially someone from Sean's office, Sean Bray's office. And I think everybody together, they would get the information they're looking for. We'll probably get together quarterly or maybe every 2 months. I think this would be useful because what they all had questions for which we didn't have answers, which thought was interesting. And out of the entire group, Senator Claire's office is, if I'm correct on this, Pat, her office is the only office that does not have somebody on the board.
That was the bylaws that were created. And forgive me for not knowing the exact year, but when the bylaws were done, okay, let me go back further. Merida will probably have a better handle on this. When it was the WHLDC, the West Harlem Local Development Corporation, there was greater representation. There was representatives from, in addition to the congressman's office, the assemblyman's office, there were 2 assembly offices that were represented, the 70th and the 71st. Also, the state senator's office was represented as well. And I believe also the city council. Once it was restructured to become WHDC, a lot of that was changed. So as of now, the only representative, I'm sorry, back then it was also CB9 as well as representatives. As of now, and according to the restructuring, you have a representative from the congressman's office, who is Larry English. You have a representative from Sean Abreu's office, who is Andres Aranda. You have 2 representatives from CB9, which is myself and Barry Weinberg. And I feel like I'm missing somebody. And if I am, I'm saying, but what I'm saying is that Senator Claire's office is not represented, but that was as part of the agreement that was done in the reformation of WHDC from WHLDC. So I think that if she's asking for representation, that's something that has to be taken up with WHDC directly, meaning the chair. And I guess he would have a better knowledge of what that was about. But I can tell you who the representatives are, and the people that I named are the representatives.
Okay, great. Thank you. Wow, interesting. Okay.
First, Monique.
Hi, Monique. My apologies.
No worries. I think the questions or the comments I was going to make, you guys began to address. The question that was posed in terms of what is the role of WHDC? Is their role to represent in the best interest of CB9 and do the maximum amount with the money that's there, or is it to hold on to the money? I mean, that was the question or the thought I was having when the conversation was happening. And I mean, is it clear what their role is? So that was my question. And in terms of what Victor started to say about coming back to the table and meeting with them more frequently, I know Pat reports out, but Ziad, is there any reason why they can't is there any reason he can't come and meet with the board, the board or even the executive board on a quarterly basis and share even more details, I guess, or, because he gave us a very extensive presentation and it provided a slightly better understanding, but then holding them to task, having them report out. And I guess to what Pat said, I don't know what else they can report out differently, but just letting them know we want accountability, period. And if there's money there, then looking at how the money is being used to the maximal benefit of our CB, because as Merida said, and then I'll be quiet, maximize our outreach or engagement, period. That should be happening. So those were some comments and thoughts that I had while listening. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you. Was that question asked of Ziad when he was at the meeting?
Which question?
Which one?
The question was why can't he attend more meetings?
No, it was not asked, but I will try. We could do something.
Because I don't know. So, I mean, but that's why I'm saying if that's a question that is a concern, that's something that could have been asked. And I would have liked to know what the answer was.
And I'm sorry, one last comment. I know Barry is representing, and I mean, I don't have an issue per se, but is he able to represent as a resident of CB9 because he's not sitting formally on the community board?
I don't know. I can tell you that last year, and please help me with the memory. Last year, there was a vote where I think it was there was nominated me, Reverend Morgan Thomas, and Barry Weinberg. And
No.
Barry was appointed, but then afterwards, I remember hearing during one of the CB9 meetings that Barry was not going to be serving on the board. So right now, to my knowledge, he's still the representative, and I'm one of the other ones. So if that has to be changed, I don't know if that's something that we discuss. I think that's something that has to be addressed by CB9.
Right. I guess I think I was asking Victor.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't mean to overstep.
No, it's okay, Pat.
All right, hang on. So Marina, please.
We really need to stop acting as though the WADC is in charge of us. We put them there. It's our money they're living on. So we need to redirect how we approach them. They're not doing us a favor. They're using the money.
Yeah, no,
Well, let me start
Don't get
with
started.
the 3 chairs. I was one of the 3. The other one is still sick, one is dead. We worked for that money.
Right.
They did not. They are the result of it. They're the same as this young man in his office. That's how important they are. He is the office for the board. They are the office for that money. They are not the head of it.
Right.
We need to address it.
Right.
One thing that I might suggest, and I don't know, they might give us pushback, but all the people who are employed and collecting a salary, can they give us an SOP of their top 5 tasks in a week or in a month? So that we can evaluate exactly.
Not can they, should we request?
Well, we
Not
should
can.
request, I don't know
That's
if they're gonna
it.
give
Then
us.
we should, no, they don't have a choice. They're working on our money, so then they have to do what we say.
Then that's what I would request, because then we can really be sure of what they're doing, right? If everybody who's getting a salary, if you give me an SOP, which is a very standard thing to ask of employees, because also if someone leaves or comes back or whatever, to be able to replicate that job. So they should be able to write an SOP of what their top tasks are in a week, a month, something like that.
Right.
I would say even top 5.
So
Each person who's collecting a salary, and then that should come back to us to audit.
right, so I think kind of like for the
They work for us, we don't work for
Right.
them, and that was what has happened over the time. They've gotten the idea that they're doing us a favor. No.
so we have to create the scorecard
Yeah.
that they have to fill, and
That's correct.
that's exactly what we're going to try to do
Yeah.
now. So the scorecard would also show us
One of the original signed agreements, in case you want to see one.
the 2009 one, right?
Down.
Yeah, I think we all have that one. Yeah, but I think we have to
Originally signed.
by Bollinger and
Hello?
okay.
What part of originally you don't get?
So that's the part we have to work on, a scorecard. So the scorecard would be theoretically updated every month. And then we can amend
We
it
need to
according.
make them understand that they don't work for us.
Right,
I mean, we don't work for them, they work for us. That's what, and they don't have that understanding.
right. They work for the community in a broad sense. Yeah. And
So what
part
do
of,
we work for?
well, part of the struggle is the catchment area. And I think that's also what we have to understand. As I look through the CBA, no,
Catchment is much larger.
It's much larger.
Go into the Bronx.
goes into the
For the
Bronx.
money?
Yes.
Really? Why?
No, I gotta go read it, let me go read it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the zip codes are stipulated. It
Zip
does.
code. You go by the zip code.
Read it.
Yeah,
Right here, see the zip codes?
No, my sign.
yeah.
Doesn't matter what sign, but.
Yeah, I need to see what is said by the legal one that was
The copy
signed.
is the same as the original, Marilla.
Right.
It's the same thing, it's just a copy.
This don't even register with me, I got no idea.
So I think that clarification on that would be incredibly useful for a lot of folks also, because I think there is a perception that it only applies to CB9.
Mhm.
And
And it doesn't.
no, it doesn't. Also, the board would have discretion. Legally, they would have discretion, and that's why some funding went outside of CB9 and other boards.
Also, I would ask for job descriptions. In addition to requesting that they create SOPs for their jobs, and right now, immediately, we can ask for a job description, so I can see what the person is supposed to be getting paid to do each and every day. Because I think that really kind of puts us in the right direction, I think, of starting out, because
You just want to let it back. So your question is, if somebody's supposed to be doing outreach, you want to know it.
yeah,
Who's,
if
oh, okay.
somebody's supposed to be, because I.
What are their job requirements?
Let's say you're getting paid $50,000 to be, an executive assistant, well, what do you do?
Yeah, okay.
Do I get coffee for this one guy every day? Well, we don't,
And your
nobody
point-
needs that,
And your
right?
point is
So-
they should be able to print that out, right? Right.
They should be able to print
Okay.
it pretty easily, and
Yeah.
people in the regular, like the nonprofit
Right.
world, they get requested of that constantly, right? And it happens to you constantly, and it can be annoying, but it happens, and someone comes in and they say, tell me what you do all day.
Right.
No, really, actually,
What is
right
your
now,
job
where are you doing this from this to this to this? And then
So,
when I see what you're doing all day, now I can see if we're being wasteful or not. I can see where there's opportunities, where things can pivot, where resources can be worked.
Right.
But if I don't know what you, and also it helps sometimes you to be more productive, to realize, oh, actually I do chat from 2 to 4 every afternoon with my
What is
favorite
the job
coworker.
description?
And,
That's what it's
exactly.
start. What
Okay.
is the job
I'd like to
description?
start
Yeah.
at a higher level though.
Yeah.
That level would be,
a little
how do
granular.
you do, how does Western Development Corp do outreach? I don't care who's doing it, but how do you do it? How often do you do it? Then take each of those and go down the line. How do you do this? And go with there. I don't really, we could go.
Push back the reason that I'm saying for you the granular level is because we just had a presentation where a guy gave you a wonderful speech and it was very nice. But at the end of the day, I felt like I came away with a lot of questions, not a lot of answers, really nice buzzwords and fun speak. But that doesn't tell me what you're actually doing all day. But if you have to write down exactly where you're spending your time on the granular level, you can't say, oh, I'm, giving strategic results on a blah, blah, blah. Well, what does that mean? What are you doing? And like, I feel like by letting it be on a broad level, we're getting exactly what we've gotten, which is like a lot of fun, nice, but no
No meat.
product, no product.
No meat. So,
That's
I
the
mean,
word, I like that, no product.
yeah, so I think what it really is, we also need to work on the scorecard, to your point. What is it that we're looking for? And we want to see updated monthly, quarterly, what have you, in addition to this backup information.
Right.
So that we have an understanding of West Harlem. So roles and responsibilities is something that is a question for a lot of the agencies, whether it's HCDC, ESD, stop on any of the acronyms, Leveneer, which is another one, which is the auditor, which I was kind of curious about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the group that actually compiles the report, right? And also government and community affairs, and whoever we've missed in all of that.
What is this funding for the WHLBCN?
Depends on what area you're looking at.
The one with the money? I don't know what area it
No,
is.
there's different funding that end in different
They
times.
all go to them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I thought it all came from the agreement.
You said WHLDC.
That's the old,
Oh, so you mean the
Yeah.
HDC,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't sunset at the same time.
right.
So HCDC
That was-
sunsets in
Local.
2034. So the sunsets were kind of interesting, and then the agreement sunsets in 2040 overall. So I think having a scorecard that is kind of a little bit more living that we can modify, and as folks ask questions, we can come back and update that. I think that would be incredibly useful. So overall, I think there's tons of questions, and we need to kind of figure out a format. Yeah, and I don't think it'll be a solid format, but I think it would also be useful, just like Pam does right now, to have something that can come into general or executive on a monthly basis. That folks can glance at 1 page or 2 pages. you know,
Basic something.
Basic,
Right.
right. You're not interested in necessarily, did it go to Michael, but you want to see enough that makes you feel
Basically,
comfortable.
what I should be able to understand immediately,
Right.
basically and immediately.
Right.
That's what we're
That
looking.
makes sense?
No, I'm just thinking about the scorecard. Do we want input from the whole community board on how we measure
I
WHDCs?
can't see how it can't be done because without going to the entire community board, because like Walter, the senior group has a right to say, hey,
They've actually been doing.
Who
We can
came-
ask-
Yeah.
Who came to the board for senior, who came to West Harlem for senior programming and was denied? Something odd like this, and then who?
We do it by committee,
Yeah,
you know.
topic or,
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be-
Committee, what are you looking for, what do you like to see from housing, from
Yeah.
housing, or that,
But then they should have a representative at every meeting.
they do. Well, they don't, Pat,
Hello.
his report.
Okay,
So we
I
can-
said, they
right,
should
yeah.
have a representative at every meeting. So this is what you did in economic, this is what you did in housing. So that we all end up at the same page, not
Mm.
only Pat must know for the whole world.
right, because the other big thing would be groups
That's
that
it.
are unfamiliar to the community
Why don't
board. You know, so if a group received, a senior group, or there was a senior initiative that was funded within the district or outside of the district. We want to see that also, and maybe something that's a running document.
So I mean, we do the list of priorities for every fiscal year.
Right.
We could do some version of that,
Right,
that we bring
Okay,
to them.
yeah.
Yeah.
That basis too.
yeah,
Just
so, so it's kind of like gathering data, gathering a lot of input, and then putting it into a useful format. In addition to, as you come up with these things, we can say, hey, but we have to be nice. You know,
That's.
That's right, I can see that, I said. You're cut to the chase now, it's something, come on, guys, can we please, but that information may be on their website.
I think the job description should be readily available.
Yeah.
The SOP would be something that the worker would have to create, and I think it will get pushback, but I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for it. Now,
Who's
obviously,
funding that?
yeah, obviously, we're not doing this. What I'm saying, if we were in a, yeah, and if we were in a non-public setting,
Mhm.
Nobody else.
where we were
Well,
worried about as shareholders of the community getting our money back, and we were saying, oh, we think that we see
Yeah.
We're not part of the benefits. of
Concerns, I won't say
the
waste, but
agreement that
concerns.
was signed.
Yeah.
about the money that's going out versus the product. The first thing you would do is figure out the people that we're paying, what are they doing for us? And because yeah, that could be it. Maybe, you know, we're asking about what's going on with this in-kind, blah, blah. Well, maybe there's somebody that there's enough time for them to make these reports on on what's going on with in-kind, or enough time to make, do outreach on the using that in-kind space, or we don't know until we really start.
Right, so one of the things that did say that I don't know if anyone picked up on was a reduction in staff size. So when you reduce the staff, that's another question. Hey, who did you kick out, or what did you get rid
And
of?
what were they doing and what was.
Right, so did you get rid of an outreach person?
Still what?
And who's gonna take that?
And who's gonna take it over? So now I see kind of how you're blending this in. Yeah, this could be interesting.
No, that's just my thought is like, if you were not in this particular setting, but you were
Right.
going into
Right.
somebody who was spending your money
Right.
and you wanted to know, you'd start from the beginning. So, well, what are you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I like you.
So then I think that's West Harlem, and now we have the Columbia side to this, which should be something similar, and I think that's gonna be wrapped around more on the in-kind side, which is a wide open discussion.
Well, what do
Because-
you think is the priority, to get this in order first or the Columbia side in order?
My
first?
hope is that if we have a scorecard, we can apply it to both. Maybe do something,
Both are,
yeah,
yes, we should.
because we also have HCDC. I mean, Kurt's is very easy to deal with, but, you know, I didn't say like, Kurt's goes, I can tell you, this is what we get, and if you want that information, you got it. He's very easy breezy, and that might be useful to know also. Because I think it's.
I think it's
ramped
like-
up.
He was on the board.
I don't intend, I don't want to be contentious, but I think people want some answers, you know, it seems.
And rightfully,
Yeah.
rightfully.
Contentious, that's required.
It's
I'm
contentious.
sorry, quick question. You mentioned HCDC. Why did you mention them?
HCDC was a recipient of $20 million, outside of the CBA. I think they came in through the CCNRs.
I see. So they got funding from the CBA.
I think it's more or less through the CCNRs. I don't think it's specifically, that's the interesting thing about it. I don't think it's out of the CBA.
I see.
And the reason why I
No.
say is when I
Okay.
asked first who negotiated the 20 million and was it part of the CBA, he said no. And he pointed back to Keith Wright.
Okay,
And I was like, okay, I gotta ask about that some other.
yeah, it is for the community.
Yes.
They didn't have a responsibility to.
Yes, yes. And also, I think the legal fees, where are we with the 4 million?
I gotta look.
Yeah, so
It's per year,
Mhm.
it's like 2 attorneys, 1 year, 1, 2, something like that.
so then I
That's
think,
with Calante.
right, then I think the other question is, maybe the community board has to score the use of the money. You know, is it adequate, inadequate, is it being best used? You know, those kind of things also can pop up, but we can't do anything until we
Yeah.
get all of this together, so. Right, so the working group will probably, has sort of met, and we're gonna build that out. And I think our next, I have a meeting request out to ESD. So I'm hoping Destiny responds. That would be,
Let me know.
yeah, I think it would be fun, it might be a group of 4 or 5. And how did you do with, government and community affairs? Or,
Yeah, we
We have
set a
a-
date and we
okay, great.
spoke with them today. Oh, we were in the same meeting.
Okay, yeah, so I think we want to be nice.
Yeah, no, they were
Yeah,
very cooperative
yeah,
at
yeah,
their level.
yes,
See, when you go up, it gets a little more tricky.
I heard it.
Yeah.
I heard Lucas gave me the background on that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he's like, that's the interesting level.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, just keep it at the be nice level.
As long as we can get what we need, it works.
So overall strategy, overall thinking, a lot to be refined, but thoughts, questions, anyone? Pat, Walter, Monique? Ariasella.
I think it's certainly a conversation, a good conversation to have in order to set the foundation on how to move forward strategically with WHDC and also of course Columbia. Having, like you said, measures or ways to measure or look at what they're doing in order to show accountability to us is important, and doing it in a timely way is equally important. So I hear that conversation happening, and it's a good thing, and hopefully there won't be too much pushback, because at the end of the day, if you're doing the right thing, then you should want to share and to report out on what you're doing. And we should be working in partnership. We shouldn't be seen as adversarial. So I think that everything I'm hearing sounds proper.
Yeah. So, yes, and I think the other thing also is talking to the stakeholders in the community and understanding what they would see as their needs and how they would like to see things prioritized. So that might be another consideration, is how do we create a forum for that? You know, is it a listening session or whatever? So things to think about.
That is a good, I think, idea, a forum, I guess, or a town hall to hear what people's needs are so that we can be thoughtful and, and intentional.
Right. I think also possibly plant some seeds. You know, maybe groups haven't thought about things and there could be opportunities. The money is sitting there, so, yeah. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, issues? Walter, you're incredibly quiet.
I know, I'm shocked. Walter,
I-
are you
Okay,
still,
I am
do you have a
in two-
pulse?
I'm in 2 meetings. Hold on a second. Let me mute this one. All right, now where am I? Where am I? What's being asked of me? Well, how much blood do y'all need?
Yeah.
Chris?
1 pint, 1 pint.
Ah, let's go.
Well, we're essentially for senior issues, senior actions. It sounds like we'll probably drop by and talk to the senior action committee
Okay.
and try to plant the seed or plant the thought about start thinking innovatively.
I really would welcome that. First and foremost, our next meeting won't be until November 18th due to the Election Day, Veterans Day, holidays back to back. And we have MTA coming that day to talk about the Omni. I do have a speaker for the December meeting, And what myself and Vanessa are trying to do is build up our attendance by seniors. We're having more committee members there than we're having seniors, and we're not outreaching to the committee. So we have a plan, okay, to hit all of these senior centers within the next month or so, to either address them in person or maybe have one of our meetings there. So that would be the 4 senior centers as well as the one at 3333. And then Lily would like us to come there also. So we've been asked to go to places, but when I first got on this the board, we met at the George Bruce Library. That was before COVID. 40, 45 people at every meeting. Great input from seniors. COVID, we lost a lot of seniors due to the technology as well as health, and we were not able to build that back up. So we changed our name from Senior Issues to Senior Action. So we need to start some action. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna, we're gonna depress the committee members as well as the co-chair to come up with ideas so we can increase our membership. But
so
that's why I
Walter,
attended this meeting because I'd like to know where you're going. And please forgive me because they're going to try to get me in this other meeting, and I'm a log out from it.
so Walter, real quickly, so is there a possibility that the issue is transportation and logistics? Would
It's
it be?
possibly it's a possible because we're on the hill.
Mhm.
I mean, but that's only for people with mobility issues. We asked George Bruce, could we have our meetings there again? They don't open until 12 o'clock, so that presents a problem. That the meeting was originally started at 11 to allow the seniors to do the meeting, and by 12:30 they could go to their various senior centers and eat. So now, as we don't have any seniors, so we're talking, we're in talks with that. I have to present that to the committee.
Okay, so I'll talk to you afterwards because one of the possibilities, maybe it's a bus that picks up seniors and then drops them off at designated spots.
Well, that's costly. We do that for the WOHA, right, Pip Watler. But I think it's easiest for us to go for the mountain to go to Muhammad.
I
Let us
do
go to
too.
the
I
yeah.
do too. Yeah.
Yeah, let us go to them. Let us know who, so they know who we are. We did that before when we did our first resource. We went to all of the senior centers, the co-chair at that time, and we were able to and we got good reception. So I want
Okay.
to do that again. And I'm sorry we don't have anybody on our committee that speaks Spanish because that's really needed. Maybe I can get a committee member from CB9 to assist us if they can, because it's during the daytime.
You mean from the office?
No, from well, if Ashley would volunteer, if I don't want to put her outside, or one of the committee members.
Yeah, I think meeting them where they are, as Victor has shared, is a good idea. That's something he put out, and it's something for all of us, I guess, to consider in terms of committee work. And yeah, you probably would be able to reach more seniors if you went to the senior center. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of the health committee, and I know there's a section in the CBA that talks about, I think, outreach in the community around health, certain things that they were supposed to offer. And it might be, of course, worth you guys coming to the health committee, and maybe having a conversation there to see once again how we can, uh, make sure we hold Columbia responsible for those things related to health. Especially
Yes,
during this time, it's going to be critical given everything that's happening and is a little funky in terms of the health um issues and those in the administration and the things that they're doing. We want to make sure there's enough information that's getting out there and just supporting people so that we could try to keep our community well.
okay, yeah,
Has WHDC been doing stuff on Legionnaire's disease?
Yeah.
well, if they're doing Legionnaires, it's gonna be out of 9.
Okay.
I mean,
Of,
yeah,
the community board.
um, council, council 10, council 9, council 10, this will be Central Harlem.
Yes.
I don't think we had any Legionnaire issues in this
In this
district.
district. Okay.
Yeah, That's the oddity, because we didn't have cooling towers.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, issues? Okay, so
One last thing, sorry. The small business incubator
I like
that's
it.
mentioned. No, like it's in the
Yeah.
in the agreement. Does that still exist?
And see, that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was saying the RFP is something similar.
Yeah, so that's part of that scorecard issue of what commitment is out there that has not been met, or what is the status of the commitment, but we need it like in a solid list.
Yeah.
Versus,
This one I'm trying to hear.
yeah, there's a business incubator
Was in which agreement?
in the CBA.
Okay, I'll go check it out, you know.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that's also in kind is sort of interesting how it's structured.
Okay.
Columbia will present. WHDC or the community can present or propose to Columbia,
Mhm.
which may provide some free in kind, but if that initiative gains momentum, Columbia may then back charge under the CBA to continue it.
Mm,
So.
yeah, that makes sense, but
Yeah,
yeah.
so like you can reach out to faculty and they'll say, hey, I'll sit down with you for 2 hours free. But if we move forward with this, then we might back charge.
Yeah.
Which is not really kind of unusual, but yeah,
Yeah, no, and if it
But-
becomes a regular commitment, then you're gonna charge it, simple,
right.
you know.
Your money is there, so we're gonna back charge against it. All right, so, yeah, so when, the next time we get together with Lucas, do you,
I'm not sure the next time we just see this. Might be at the general board, at the next general board.
do you want to be part, do you want to fall into, like, it's, the working group? You want to sit through
Say again?
the working group?
Oh, I see. Oh, like the meetings with,
If you
I'm
have-
hopeful that there will be another meeting like the one we had today within the next month,
Okay,
2 weeks to a month. But yeah, I mean, I'll follow up.
oh, see, yeah, okay, so this would be like a separate thing, but it probably will be with, GCA,
GCA.
Government and Community Affairs. You guys met with them today?
Yes, oh, yes,
Yeah.
okay, I see, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I'm
we're,
not sure, yeah, I don't know, the people we met today were also like sort of Columbia University residential specific.
okay, yeah, so this would be CBA specific. Yeah, and I think it's gonna be just some kind of initial general questions until we start drilling down and we start meeting your needs and requirements and where's the SOP? Unleash the hounds. You guys can give it to us or you're gonna have to deal with it. Come on, come on,
Or we can come and get it.
come and get it. All right.
Okay, much to really get to it.
So, under task force, so I listed out the items that the task force will be looking at, and I think we touched and discussed almost all of them. Looking forward, looking ahead will be the working groups, identifying the stakeholders, and I can imagine you guys are gonna start thinking about tons of them, and we'll follow up with that. And then developing a mechanism and a format for tracking. That's gonna be the interesting work in progress.
That's.
How do we create something that satisfies everyone's needs and is very comprehensive, but within just a couple pages? You know, this thing that we received is this big, so, yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Other than that, any old business, new business? I did. But we can actually grab it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's, anybody online, thoughts, questions?
The next meeting is in 2 months, am I correct?
Yes, but you can always reach, Walter, I know you already. You're
Oh,
gonna
of
reach-
course, of course, of course. May, can you come to our January meeting? I'll put you on as our headline.
Yes. Sure.
Our first meeting in January, so by that time we should have some seniors there.
Yes. Coffee,
Right,
don't,
right, Ms. Watler?
Yes,
Question
yes,
to-
Walter.
Question to Marita, because at the Economic and Development meeting, there was a talk, as I think she started to hint at, the obligation of Columbia to provide support to maybe local business members. I think once we get clear about that, I know in December, there was discussion about having a mixer with inviting local businesses to, network and come together. And I'm wondering if there is somebody at Columbia who is obligated to reach into the community and to provide support.
Yeah.
maybe
So
we can
Monique-
get that person to
Monique,
work with
Monique,
her. Yeah.
Yeah, Monique, the answer is no.
Oh.
So there is sort of a provision for an incubator, but that's TBD.
I see.
So it needs to be worked out, designed, and I don't know if that will be an SBS thing. There is an SBS at Columbia, but I don't think this is what that would be. This would probably be something CB9 specific versus SBS.
Just give me a little more clarity on what you're asking, because I do have someone at Columbia that I can count on to come forward and get it done for me.
Yeah, so they're asking, so there's a provision for a small business incubator. So it would be a resource, potentially, it could be an office or retail space, and you usually have a level of resources there that can help a business within the district on technical issues related to leases or how to improve marketing or any number of things.
Mhm.
And it would be available to the businesses here, like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So more commonly, the Small Business Administration has a variation of this. But that I believe is in the business school, and that's a totally different thing. So I think that would be, I think Victor was asking about this too.
The Economic Development Committee needs to take a very serious look at that.
How, yeah, so this goes to your RFP, like, how do you make that work?
Right.
Yeah, is that a person? So we'll talk, Monique, I have some bid related things that I thought Curtis shared with me, which intrigued me. Bids can
Really?
also, because of the way the bid assesses their charge, the way they get their money, it's a taxing. That tax gets transferred to the consumer. So when you buy things in a bid zone, they tend to be more expensive, and it makes it more difficult for businesses to survive. So a bid can be a little bit problematic for certain businesses. And at Times Square, it works out. Curtis, when he said that, I was like, wow, I don't know about that.
Oh,
But-
wow. That's
Well,
interesting.
Times Square. When you're traveling from wherever, Europe, and you go to Times Square, I know I do it in Paris, you're gonna spend $5 on a can of Coke because it's convenient. That's their bid at work. Yeah.
Wow.
Sounds like a tariff.
Yeah, thank you. We're gonna add a tariff. Thank you, everyone. So we don't really have the motion to adjourn, but, thank you, everyone, and I'll.
The standing stuff with this one, as far as moving to adjourn and meeting or anything like that?
No, because actually it could be just the two of us,
Oh, okay, good.
but, yeah. So you're gonna continue, and Loretta, of course, and you, thank you, sir. We got you up by 8, so. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think it's last.
So we have motion to
I share
adjourn, right?
really quick.
Oh,
Right.
wait.
Yes.
Somebody, Araceli?
I just wanted to
Araceli.
say really quick about the participatory budgeting workshops that I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. I just dropped a flyer for that. I'm happy to share it as well. But you all are invited to join us in taking a look at our city's budget and deciding where that money should go, what community needs should be addressed. It is an open to the public workshop. We have a couple of sessions in early November. But some of those ideas actually do go to a borough assembly and then get put to a public vote. So it really is an opportunity to be involved in.
What distribute?
Yeah. It is a free
Araceli,
workshop.
the right guy is looking at the flyer. He'll send it out to
I'll be sure
the
to
board
send it out
members.
tomorrow. Thank you. for
Thank
this.
you. Should I forward
Yeah.
it to somebody?
You could send it to my email.
Okay.
All right, you can take it now. H.
Oh, Hakil? Okay.
You have more stuff to do tonight?
It's HELLISTON at cb.nyc.gov.
Welcome.
Perfect. Thank you.
First time I've
You're
ever-
welcome. Thank you.
First time I've ever.
So and I assume because Dejan is here and you guys are kindred spirits.
Hello?
We lost them again.
Oh, is that the end of the? Oh.
No, there you go. We lost you guys. No
Oh,
sound.
You didn't
All
lose
right.
us.
Okay, you're back. You're back.
All right, good night, everyone.
Okay.
Oh, don't go. Don't.
Simon, all right. So we're ending at 7:55.
Scheduled
Looks-
by-
Cool,
Looks
cool.
good to me.
Good
All
night,
right.
all.
Good night.
They setting
Yeah,
the standards.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, get out, get out.